Everyone is I dash for broad culture. Yeah, I don't really make a lot of videos except for whenever I'm basically driving to or from work or running errands, because I just don't have the time, because I'm the father of the channel now. So, past 5 months have been pretty fun and a pretty wild ride when you learn how to handle a baby. I will try to make more videos more frequently if I can. And honestly, like, I don't have much ideas anymore. I try to write more, but eventually life gets in the way. And so, this new series I do want to do, it's kind of like John's manga haul, but for me, it's book review. And I'm kind of reviewing the books I've read over the past year right now. And then eventually, after every so many books I've read, I'll review them. So, there's that. I figured for this one, I'd start off with what I have my Junji Ito collection so far. So there's a reason this video is basically Junji Ito Part 1, because of course he's got so many other great mangas out there that I want to read. I pretty much want to read all of them except for the Cat Diaries, because I like manga that has action or twist, not really the cutesy type mangas or something like that. So, in the past year, I've read 4 Junji Ito books, and the first one was actually gifted to me by John back on my 22nd birthday last year, back in June, whenever my wife and I, the Devil Mercenary, first found out that we were having a baby. And that, No Longer Human by Junji Ito. Now, originally I didn't really know what I'd be getting into with this, and I found out it's like originally written by Osamu Dazai, which is a very morbid tale of a man who doesn't really feel he has much to live for, and just goes through life with being terrified by his past, having been sexually assaulted a lot, even going as far as getting one of his aunts, I believe, pregnant. Basically caused the one person who called him a friend to die, and that was Takechi. And a lot of heroin use, like a lot. And he also goes through a lot of stuff like being with a bunch of Marxists and whatnot. And by the end of the tale, he eventually does find peace and raises his kid, which it's got some brightness to it. But the only real sad part is that in this rendition, he meets Osamu Dazai, and yeah, it's just something else. They talking. The thing is, the way that the main character, the narrator, tries to kill himself is basically the exact way that Osamu Dazai committed suicide, unfortunately. And he'll never know how much his work really got him a lot of attention. Kind of like Jim Croce. Like, Jim Croce was never a whole lot famous during his time of being a musician, but after he died, that's whenever the posthumous fame comes in. But No Longer Human is a good read if you really want a morbid tale, but the art is definitely exceptional. It's signature Junji Ito. And this is what really freaked my wife out, why she never lets me get the Junji Ito Funkos. The next one I got back in December, kind of against the best advice, and that is Shiver. Shiver is a collection of like 10 stories, I think, And it's really each one has their own ways of getting to you and really horrifying you. Like, my favorite stories that really freaked me out, like there was hanging blimps where these blimps that have people's faces and heads are just floating around, and if they find you, they basically hang you. So there's no way to escape them. Like, you kind of gotta stay in your house and whatnot, but eventually they get you, and that's kind of horrifying. Then there was the long dream, where kind of has to do with this person who feels like they're sleeping so long, and eventually they feel like they sleep till eternity, that they basically turn into dust as if they got snapped by Thanos. And it's really weird. It's weird sci-fi almost. There was honored ancestors, which everyone gets freaked out by, because basically in that story, this guy is connected to his ancestors by the head. It turns into like a centipede of human skulls. And so that was creepy. And there's another one called Greased, which it's not as horrifying, but it really irks you because like this kid like has acne from living in a house full of grease. And eventually just squeezes it all out. It is disgusting. But it's Junji Ito. Much respect. Then I got 2 more Junji Ito books back in early June, late May, as an early birthday present from my wife. And she got me Junji Ito because, you know, she knows me. And the first one is actually his latest release, which is Love Sickness. It's got some good stories to it. I know that his next release is supposed to be called Censor. I'm waiting on that. I still want to read tons of others, like his rendition of Frankenstein, Uzumaki, Gyo, Fragments of Horror, Smashed, all those good ones. But the main story of Love Sickness that takes up most of the book is the titular story, and it's about this town where people find this ghostly figure that's in black and ask him if they'll ever find their true love. It's a crossroads fortunes that you never really hear about anymore. And each of the girls that cross paths with this guy, they eventually go crazy and eventually drive themselves to suicide, and they just like obsess so much. Like, there's this one woman who's obsessed with this one boy who's the main character, and like, well, she's not obsessed with him, but she keeps asking him because he ends up looking similar to this guy. And she's just so distraught that she just keeps getting tattoos until she's just covered head to toe. And that's actually one of the pages in the Twisted Visions book that has so many pieces of Junji Ito's signature artwork from different pieces of his manga. And it's just weird how it ends. It's definitely freaking, not gonna lie, because you have all these people going crazy over the figure. And eventually the main character gets swallowed up by all these obsessive people, that he becomes a white fairy that brings people good fortune. So in a way, he's kind of like the sacrificial lamb. And it's just, it's different. And it's weird how people react to him and just try to go after him. There's also some other stories like the strange Hikizuri siblings, which it's definitely enigmatic as a story. Don't really know what to say about it. I don't really have much of an opinion because in the Hikizuri siblings, the way that Narumi's boyfriend goes, that was definitely a fun little thing where she fakes her death in front of a kid and pushes him to suicide. Well, not suicide, but to a heart attack that he dies of. There's like the seance, which can't really say much about it. I don't really know what to think of the Hikizuri siblings. The Mansion of Phantom Pain was definitely an interesting one. Basically about a mansion where, like, this kid can feel the pain in different areas of the mansion, and they have to, like, massage and clean those areas of the mansion to help soothe this pain, and it just never stops. Eventually, the pain continues to grow because people continue to die there because they can't get out of the house. They're bound for life. I think Memories of Real Poop was just a little one-off that was supposed to be trying to be funny. But the one that definitely creeped me out was the Rib Woman, because people try to, like, make themselves more beautiful and get their ribs removed. So basically pulling a Marilyn Manson. Removing the ribs. And eventually this one woman comes to take the girls that had their ribs removed. And it's usually thought that with the rib that she stole, she's playing it like a harp, but really it's the wind going through the missing ribs. Like a place that, like, the wind blows through that woman like a harp. So it's not the fact that she's strumming a rib with strings, it's that her chest is burst open. It's something else. And lastly, in the first part of this Junji Ito collection, one of my definite personal favorites from Junji Ito, Remina. And if you know anything about Planet X, it's basically Planet X, but Planet X is a living exoplanet. The story is that this scientist finds this exoplanet that's 16 light years away, and he names it after his teenage daughter. And people are fascinated by it until this planet, they just see that stars and planets are disappearing the closer it gets, and it's accelerating at a rapid pace. And people begin to believe that with how threatening the planet is and whatnot, they think that the scientists summoned it, and they start coming after the daughter after she's gained so much fame just for being named, having the same name as the planet. And so many unholy events occur. Like, people obsess and they think that they summoned it, and they think that the only way to get rid of the exoplanet is to kill Remina and her father. And the horrifying about this thing about this story is not about the fact that a living planet is eating everything in the universe. It's merely the fact of what happens with society and how it collapses. Like, they all have these little cults and everyone's chasing after her. Like, absolutely everyone. And there's just no way to get by. Like, she only has one person to protect her. And eventually the survivors that have not gone crazy, including Remina, just basically float through space in absolute nothingness in a little safety bunker that remained on Earth. Yeah. Now, some rich people did try to land on the exoplanet, and they did not live. But it's a morbid tale about what society will do if a living planet came to devour the universe and everything in it. Like, it's basically social commentary. It's not about the sci-fi aspect, it's about the horror aspect of humanity. But I definitely do recommend Junji Ito books because they're just amazing to read. Like, what comes out of that twisted mind of Junji Ito. It's why some people liken him to Lovecraft. But no, definitely some good reads. Highly recommend Remina out of all of them. Yeah, that's my review of the Junji Itos. Basically the rundown, what I liked in each of them. And there'll be another one coming soon. So if you like this, just go ahead and like, subscribe to the channel, and, you know, do whatever with the channel. But definitely more videos to come.